Welcome to episode 22 of the Secret Caliber podcast. Once again, my name is Mo. With me, I have Cori. And I got Derek.
Howdy, folks.
Hey, guys. So, we're going to try recording video once again. Hopefully, it works out and there aren't any drastic bad things that happen, unlike last time, which I'm not going to go into.
I'm glad I wasn't here then.
So, how you guys been doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good, good. What you guys been playing?
Well, I've been continuing my delving depths into the dungeon, and I'm a little bit happier because I've progressed the story somewhat. I'm not just getting obliterated every time. That's nice. Also, I've been playing this game called Hex. It's an online free-to-play, I think because it's in early access right now, but it's a trading card game. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole campaign mode where you have an RPG character like stat screen and you can level up and you get abilities and stuff and like extra cards put into your deck based off of your abilities and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. It's fun. I've sunk a lot of time into it, but it definitely gets that pay to win feeling because there's a lot of really broken cards that you can only get through unlocking later things or buying them off the store.
Oh.
So, but it's in early access and it's like expecting glitches in a Bethesda game. I expect a trading card game to be sort of pay to win, because that's just how trading card games are.
Right.
So, it's not that big of an upset, but it's kind of a little upsetting. Aside from that, not really a whole lot. I've not gone to a lot of Smash tournaments recently because my work schedule has been incredibly messed up.
Yeah, I remember you are talking about that recently.
Mm. So, just mostly into the dungeon. Mm.
What you been up to, Derek?
Mostly I had a couple of friends get me back into Terra, or get me into Terra. I was really hyped about it when it first came out years ago, but no one really cared, so no one played it with me, so I didn't really play it. But a couple of my friends were playing it recently. They had several new classes come out, which are all pretty badass. So I've been playing that.
Wait, is Terra that MMO?
Yeah, Terra is an MMO. It's known for being very action-y, very like hack and slash, or the range stuff is very like third-person shooter-ish. Mm-hmm. Like even like heals and things, you have to like target. You don't have to like shoot your allies with the heals. Luckily, they weren't that dumb, but you do kind of like a lock on with your allies and cast your heals that way. So it's very fast-paced, very action-y. It's a PvE game that I can enjoy, which says something, because I have almost no interest in like your typical like traditional gear-based PvE MMOs, mm-hmm. but much more skill-based ones like Terra, or to a certain extent Guild Wars 2, I'm pretty into.
Right.
But yeah, new classes are pretty awesome. They're a ton of fun. Tanking in the game is tons and tons of fun, because it's all like active damage mitigation abilities, like active blocks and counters and dodges.
Right.
So you have to, watch the animations of the bosses and stuff and get to know that. Like, and it's really important. Like in a traditional MMO, a tank, like say in WoW, a tank might be able to be killed by, like 12 or 15 hits from this boss, whereas a squishy gets killed in like 4.
Right.
But in Terra, the tank will get killed by like 5 or 6 hits from the boss, whereas the squishy gets killed in 3 or 4. Mm. But the tank has abilities where they'll just take no damage if they use them properly.
I see.
So it's pretty good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's got a pretty solid skill cap. All aspects feel pretty good. But yeah, I really like the more combo-based damage dealers and the tanks, which they do really good with.
Cool.
Is the fact that it's a skill-based MMO and the fact that you have to go through an online server cause conflicts? Because I would imagine latency in such a game would be a huge letdown.
If you've got bad latency, it causes issues, but I haven't had that much issue with it. Even with my Cox internet lately just being really unreliable, it hasn't really caused a lot of issues. I think they have a pretty good setup for dealing with minimal packet loss. But yeah, I haven't noticed an issue. I've noticed that I will occasionally have connection issues in most games I play, but it hasn't had a significant negative effect in Terra, other than occasionally just like fully disconnecting from the server. That's usually though, like they recently came like last week, I think they came out with their newest class, the Ninja, and there were a bajillion people all playing ninjas. So besides like going into the leveling zones and just being like waist high in little like animal girl ninjas, the servers were pretty crowded, so there was a bit of latency issues. Yeah, in general, it hasn't really been an issue for me. It's been pretty solid.
Good.
Cool. I've been playing a game called Pocket Card Jockey. Have you guys heard of it?
What? No.
It's gonna sound like the dumbest idea ever because it is, but it's a lot of fun.
Okay.
You're a horse jockey and you play solitaire to make your horse race.
Okay.
And
I'm following.
It's a lot of fun. Like, it's more fun than a solitaire game should ever be. So like, it's kind of like solitaire, except, when you flip a card, you only match that card to a number that's higher or lower than it. And so you can pull off really cool combos and chains and stuff. So before you even get off the line, you have to play a game of solitaire to see how fast you get off the start line. And then, like, around each turn, you play a game of solitaire to see how well your horse does around that turn. And then, like, you can draw a path that you want the horse to take through a straightaway or through a turn. And if your horse is in, like, a place it likes, it'll get more energy, which will convert into, like, boosting. There's a lot of stats that I don't quite understand. Like, you get enthusiasm, which converts into energy, which I think helps you down the stretch. I don't know. There's a lot going on with the game, and it doesn't quite explain it, but it's still a lot of fun. I've been playing the demo for it. It's like $6 on Nintendo DS. And so I think I'm going to end up buying it. It's more fun than a solitaire jockey horse racing game should be, honestly. I've also been playing a ton of Doom. The game is phenomenal. It is so much fun. I know Cori said she got into the beta for the multiplayer.
Yeah.
It's nothing like the multiplayer.
No, I got to watch a little bit of the single player, and it looks really fun.
It's really good. It's like they literally took Doom out of like 1993 and found a way to make it work in 2016 in a world full of cover-based shooters and regenerating health. They found a way to kind of solve the issues. So we have cover-based shooting and regenerating health because of the gameplay issues that it had in Doom. So that solved a problem. So now Doom turned around and solved that problem, but in a better way that made the game faster and more engaging. And so it's kind of funny to watch them kind of wind back game design and still have it work. I'm only a couple of hours into it, and I'm still having a lot of fun. It's kind of getting the issue where it's like, get into an area, clear out this many enemies, go to the next area, and do the same thing over and over and over again. It still kind of has that vibe, which I don't quite like, but it's still a lot of fun. The gameplay kind of compensates for that repetitive kind of action that you're doing over and over again.
I was going to say, the thing that I've been most impressed with is watching people play the single-player campaign. I really thought all of those, like, kill cam things where you, like, jump on someone and you punch them.
Yeah.
I really thought that was going to pull out of the game because you see it in a lot of other ones where you walk up, you start doing a thing, it cuts away, you can't interact with it, it does the thing, the camera zooms back out or maybe goes back into your head, and then you can continue. And in Doom, it's like, shoot, jump on you, and then you start the cutscene, face punch, dead, and then you move on to the next thing.
And the thing I like about it is it doesn't stop gameplay, because things can still shoot you and things are still going on, but it gives you, so they flash like blue or orange when you can do a glory kill on them is what they call it. And so when you see one starting to flash, you can think, okay, I'm going to get a kill on that. You go through the animation while the animation is going on. You can say, okay, well, this guy's currently behind me, so I can either shoot or strafe or get around. And so that momentary pause in gameplay, you can kind of choose your next few actions, before you actually do them. So in that, I like, and I thought the same thing too. It'd pull you out, but I find it more engaging. So you can take a breath before you go on to the next glory kill or try to strafe or dodge whatever bullets are coming towards you.
And the slow-mo pause screen. The switching between weapons, but it not actually pausing. You just slow down time. I like that. That's fine.
That functionality is actually on PC, but I never use it because I just use the scroll wheel or use numbers to change weapons, so I never notice it. But yeah, a lot of people that do play on console say that's a good addition to it. That's pretty much it. Just racing card games and Doom is what I've been playing. Alright, should we get into the news items of the week?
Sure. Sounds good.
Alright, so it's a little light. There's not a whole lot going on. E3's coming up in 2 weeks? 3 weeks, I think?
About that time.
Yeah, so all the news is kind of slowing down before then. So this article comes to us from Kotaku, entitled Reviewer Targeted. Thank you.
Reading comprehension's not normally a part of this job, is it?
Well, I wrote a stupid reviewer targeted for giving Uncharted 4 negative review. This article comes from Kotaku. Let me click on the link really quick because I didn't have it open for some reason. So Mark Thompson of the Washington Post gave Uncharted 4 a not so good review.
4 out of 10?
Yeah, well,
kind of.
So he wrote the review and said, not that good of a game, don't like it, whatever. But he didn't give it a formal number. I think an editor afterwards converted it to a number somehow.
When they submitted it to Metacritic, they gave it a Metacritic rating of 40 out of 100.
Or 4 out of 10, if you can divide.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Metacritic is out of 100, so that's how they...
Well, it's still not the lowest common denominator, so...
Yup.
So he liked the game and gave it a 4 out of 10. And the game has gotten universal acclaim across the board. Like, I think after the 40, I think the lowest score was like an 80 or 85 or something on Metacritic.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely an outlier among the bunch. So then a change.org petition got started to...
Because we all know how effective those are.
Change.org got started to expunge the Washington Post review of Uncharted 4, and the internet couldn't even handle that their beloved game, someone didn't like it. Oh no. So this got me thinking, good topic to talk about. Do we care about scores too much? Do we put too much weight on the score that a video game gets?
Yes.
Oh, I was going to say no. I was going to say everyone I know doesn't even care about video game reviews anymore. We mostly just look at videos or watch streams or you just go out and play a beta. But I don't feel like anyone really cares about the number anymore.
I wouldn't say... Okay, so among... my anecdotal experience is that, but I don't feel that is the larger grand scheme of things. Because... So, alright, so I'm going to start, as I try to, throwing as much of a bone as I can to the obvious idiots on the internet before I talk about how obviously idiotic they are.
Right.
So what they're doing, it's not just OMG, make this guy apologize, delete the article, etc., etc. They just want that rating removed from Metacritic because it's basically dragging down the average. The overall Metacritic rating that Uncharted 4 has is being lowered by this obvious outlier. Because yes, at least at the time the article was written, the lowest rating was an 80 out of 100.
Mm-hmm.
So throwing in a 40 there is definitely way out of the norm. I'm not going to comment on how accurate any of those ratings are, the 40s, 80s, or 100s. I haven't played the game, never been all that interested in the series, not really my thing, whatever. You heard me back whenever we saw the E3 trailers complain about how there was no game in the trailer, and it looked super boring and dumb to me, like most of the series has to me. So I'm just going to put that aside and not care about that for now. They want that 40 removed from Metacritic, and their argument is basically it's dragging down the Metacritic rating, and that apparently has a precedent of causing games that are otherwise thought to be pretty good games to not do well, because people will apparently read the Metacritic, just see the Metacritic rating, go, oh, it's a 70? I'll get something else. Or, oh, it's a 60? And just move on, because apparently, the ignorant masses, do, buy into that sort of thing. I don't know. Like I said, there's apparently a precedent. I thought in the Kotaku article they linked to at least one other game that had been... I didn't follow the link. Just look it up. But I think they made a comment of some of other games that
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 5 was one of them. I thought there was another one that was mentioned, but I don't know. But apparently, people give a lot of weight to Metacritic, and this is dragging down the Metacritic rating, and they think that will unfairly hurt the sales of this game. And they're fanboys, and therefore that is sacred to them. That's where we get into the more zealous part. But yeah, my other side of that, the other 90% of my opinion, is first with Cori, don't just... Frankly, it's getting almost universally good reviews, like every single AAA game always does. Because, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but obviously, every single AAA game, especially ones that are kind of really honestly meh, always getting 9 or 10 out of 10 is probably not natural. I think there may be some palm greasing going on there, so I don't listen to those reviews. You shouldn't. Go watch videos of the game. YouTube and reviewers and stuff like that. They exist. Listen to us. We're occasionally not stupid about games. We have some opinions, and other people like us. Go get some actual gamers, inputs.
Yeah.
Don't let the stupid number make your decisions for you.
And here's what kills me. That argument that it brings down the score, obviously they're not statisticians because... And, a 40, if the majority of them are above 80, because right now it's sitting at a 93, I don't think that 40 is affecting that score of 93.
I was just about to pull it up, but yeah. Okay, I was wondering how many reviews there are, because it's got to be a bunch of them, and I feel like, publishers of games, of AAA games like this can probably afford to pay at least, 2 or 3 dozen reviewers to give them a 90 or better. So.
And it's funny because the critic... Hold on, let me make sure this is right. The critic review, those of the industry, it's sitting at a 93, but the user score is sitting at 7.8. However, I don't know if that's users just giving it a low score just to give it a low score to make all the other fanboys cry even more, or what, but...
Yeah. There's probably trolling involved.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
It can't really be taken as a legitimate...
The internet.
Yeah.
I do want to say, since we just talked about Doom, and now we're talking about a Kotaku article, did you happen to see the Kotaku, 30 minutes of gameplay footage?
No.
No, I didn't see that.
It kind of touches on, why I feel like nobody trusts reviews anymore, but go and watch Kotaku play the first 30 minutes of Doom. It looks like the first time someone's ever tried to do a console shooter. They can't move and aim at the same time. They're, strafing to put the cursor on a monster, and then stopping, and then pulling the trigger, and then walking to the next point, and then turning, and then walking to another point. It's so hard to watch, and clearly whoever was doing that wasn't that great, but it kind of goes back to why people don't trust reviews online anymore when I can just, go watch a streamer play it.
Yeah.
I could just go to the Steam store, look who's streaming, click on their name, and go, okay, do I want to play this game? I can watch 5 minutes of this, hopefully it won't be spoiled. I think you get way more out of that than looking at a review.
Oh, yeah.
But there's some reviewers that are really good. They do a great job of it. But for the most part, if I do go to a reviewer, it's going to be like Total Biscuit. Because he usually sits down and plays, a bit of the game. He shows you all the menus and all the options that you have for the game, talks about how the game's performance handles and all of that stuff, and shows it in real time. He'll have like the FPS counter and show his processors and how much they're being overworked. Like, if this game has a memory leak, you might not get that in a review from one of these normal websites. But
right.
You can be like, hey, look, in the last patch, this happened, and you can see this happening. And whenever this grenade goes off, you can see how the game chugs down and stuff like that.
That reminds me. So Doom has the prettiest crashed desktop I've ever seen.
That's a good accolade.
Like, I'll be shooting and killing demons, go for a glory kill, and oh, desktop. Like, no warning, no slowdown, just bam, I'm at the window screen. It's like, oh, that's cute. That's really nice. And it's got to be a rare occurrence because not everyone either. Well, a lot of people aren't talking about it. They're saying, oh, they had good performance. And the game runs really well. That it just likes to crash for no reason. And Bethesda there's no like news from Bethesda about it. But yeah, none of the reviewers for Doom, for PC at least, have mentioned it. So I don't know if they had the issue and kind of they're not talking about it, or if it's such a rare issue that just none of them happen to get it. I don't know. But in general, I don't like review scores because scores are inflated, severely inflated. Like, for example, a good game usually falls within like the 6 or the 7 range. And then everything else either above that is, really good, or below that is just trash. But right then and there, we're talking about 6 or 7 being an average. Like, that's already overinflation of the scores to begin with. That means you're going to have everything above an 8, mostly above an 80 or more. And when you look at movies and stuff in Rotten Tomatoes, they're not that inflated. Like, they're pretty much even across the board. In good movies, 80. An average movie somewhere between, 30 and 60 maybe, and anything below that's generally trash. So I think just right off the bat, the review scores are busted, because if an average is a 6 or a 7, that doesn't mean anything. Everything's already going to be above an 8 or above.
Exactly, and any AAA title that gets a 6, people would be up in arms about how could you give this game such a terrible rating?
Mm-hmm.
Like, 6 is above average. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, anything below, like an 8 is sort of a slight. Like, they need that 9 or 10.
Exactly.
Or else it doesn't count. And that's how I know that it's got to be inflated. Like, like you said, just artificially inflated. They're pushing them up there.
Mm-hmm. And I don't. Part of me wants to, because as far as I can remember, like way back in the day, the scale of a 1 to 100 was always around in some way, shape, or form, either in 10s or 100s. So I don't know if it's just like people just want to hold on to a relic of the past and they just don't want to change, or because, for instance, Kotaku, they got rid of their review scores some time ago, citing the same thing, like the review scores are inflated. They don't mean anything. No one cares. People want to know what you feel about the game. They don't want a number, because that doesn't mean anything. And so I think them and some other review agency recently got rid of their review score too. And I wish all of them would get rid of it and just say, hey, here are the details. Take what you will. Because there are some people who will look at a score and say, oh, 7, psh, trash, not gonna buy it. 8, okay, I'll buy it. Yeah.
I think there was a show on G4/Tech TV back in the day. I don't remember which one it was, because it was like Tony Tallarico and someone else.
Oh, it wasn't Attack of the Show, but I know what you're talking about. It
was 2 different people, and they both discuss a game, and at the end of it, they either recommend it for renting, or don't recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
And since there's 2 different opinions on the same game, you get 2 people either telling you they both recommend it, or one recommends it and one doesn't, or some kind of compromise in between. That's a fantastic way of doing it, because it's not like a score, it's not a something out of something, it's not how many stars you've got. It's just basically, is this good enough to get? Yes? No? Or you should give it a try and then find out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's niche. That's basically all the information you really need. here's the game, here's the features, here's the good, here's the bad, should it be, should it not be. Done. That's all you really need for a good review.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I wish more people would kind of go in that direction.
Yeah, games aren't 100% subjective or objective. It's not something you can just calculate into a number.
And it's funny because I listen to a lot of IGN podcasts, and the question always comes up: how do you score something? Like, do you start with 100 and deduct? Do you start with 0 and add? Like, what do you do? And the answer is always some like wishy-washy. Well, I don't know. Hand wave. This is how we do it. Next question, kind of thing. Like, and I totally agree. Like, that's how a review process should start. You don't have a beginning. You don't have a concrete start. So why would you add a number to something that's already wishy-washy to begin with? That doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't do that. Like I said, it doesn't make any sense.
Not unless you were going to, like, aggregate a whole bunch of scores from, like, reviewers around the office. Like, if you have 7 reviewers in the Kotaku offices and all of them submitted a number for the review, then you could average those out and maybe have a better number. But honestly, you don't really see multiple people reviewing the same game within the same magazine brand or whatever.
There was a magazine that had a main reviewer and then someone who did like a second review, like a second opinion on it. And that was actually pretty good because a lot of times you would get dissenting opinions on a game, which was pretty cool because that made me want to play the game more to see where that dissent in opinion came from. But they recently stopped because it's double the work for a story, pretty much. So they stopped doing that. So I wish they would because that's pretty cool. I like doing that.
Yeah.
That's about it. I think we answered all the questions that I had lined up. Like, unless you guys have anything more about the subject.
Yeah, most of it flowed. Like, it was a really mediocre, kind of poorly written review, and people got really butthurt about it, which it's a really poorly written review. You shouldn't care that much.
Which that also surprised me.
The number shouldn't matter that much, so.
Be mad about the poor review, not of the score. You're missing the entire point.
Yeah.
I would also say, if you are mistrusting in review scores and like, internet journalism and stuff, just be skeptical. Be skeptical of everything.
Yeah.
Problem solved. If you look at Metacritic scores and you let other people decide for you if you're going to play a game or not, shame on you. Shame on you.
Yeah. Then again, if thinking is scary and painful, you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Keep going to Metacritic. Good job. Cool. This next topic, me and Derek kind of talked about it last week when we talked about violence in games with VR, and this actually came from a hilarious comic that I will actually link in the show notes this time. I'm not going to be lazy and not edit a show because you come back from BLFC and you're hungover and tired because you got 4 hours of sleep the entire weekend. That's not going to happen. There's this comic.
Speaking from experience.
No, never. There's a comic from Red Panels that I'm not even going to try to explain. Well, I'll kind of explain it. I'll link it in the show notes. It's funny. Take 30 seconds, go to the link, click on it, look at it for 30 seconds, and then come back. Or pause it. I'm not going to wait 30 seconds because I ain't got time for that. Anyway.
You'll get the idea. It's a pretty straightforward concept.
Right. So it pretty much shows how back in the 90s everyone was up in arms about violence in video games, Mortal Kombat, Doom, and all that other jazz. And then here we are in 2016, Doom has come out again, and everyone's like, it's Doom, it's violence, whatever. And then it contrasts that with the hullabaloo about Buttgate with Overwatch, and how people are still up in arms about sexuality and things in video games. We've just kind of, whatever for violence. It's like we just kind of gave up on that topic. And I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think changed? Like, why is it that we've become accustomed to violence, but then we're still, that butt makes me angry, grr. Like, what has happened?
Go ahead.
I have a fairly concise point on this, as you might not be surprised of. To me, it feels like, to a certain extent, it feels like basically video games are being treated like a normal media. Back in the day, it was, video games are for kids, and, it's gonna ruin our children and make them kill everyone, and yada yada yada, which was absurd, and people didn't get what games were, and had really absurd, conclusions they jumped to about it. Now, there's just the standard level of somewhat idiotic viewpoints on video games, like we have on media in general in the West, which is that violence is perfectly fine. It's a normal everyday thing that people just do, bludgeoning someone's brains out of their skull with a shovel. It's just a thing you do on Thursdays. But titties are horrible and dangerous and will ruin the world. So, welcome, video games, to the regular everyday insanity. You're now part of the club. You can join movies and books and everything. We can have people getting their heads smashed in with shovels on NCIS while we eat dinner with the kids, but if you show a nipple, you will be lit on fire in the public square.
Yeah. I was going to say the only thing I really noticed is the difference between is in the early 2000s to later 2000s, we had like the terrorism scare, and everything was about fear-mongering the idea of violence and people being radicalized and unpatriotic and stuff. So I feel like the overwhelming red influence in American politics was pushing towards a more, like, I want to say puerile, but I'm not sure if that's the right word for it. But basically, they were all worried about the violence and stuff making people terrible. And now we come to the future where that's not really a concern anymore. Everyone's kind of exacerbated about terrorism and radicalization and stuff. We're kind of just beyond it. But now we have a whole sex-negative part of society where we're worried about people becoming perverts. We're worried about people, like, the whole bathroom thing going on right now. People are concerned about the most stupid things. But there's so much concern and so much spotlight on the topic that now, instead of worrying about people being radicalized for violence, we're worrying about people being radicalized for sexualization. And it's just the same song and dance, just to a slightly different tune.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'd throw in, I also see it as being part of the kind of, as I see it, this is a very complicated issue that I'm going to make a single, statement about, so bear that in mind, but as I see it, kind of the negative, drag-along of, progressive movements, where, we're making steps forward. There's a lot of, especially narrowing the focus to media. There's a lot of focus now on better representation. Female characters not just being female characters as a type of character. They're just characters who happen to be female. They get to do things that other non-female characters do, and it's just a regular thing. And, other non-white characters, et cetera, et cetera. There's more inclusiveness. And then, and that's great. I'm all for inclusiveness. Most of the world doesn't look like me, and I shouldn't see every single main character look like me. That's not how the world works. It's good. Get some variety in there. It's great. But then people kind of get a little overexcited about it and kind of run ahead of the train a little, and they end up kind of losing the track and veering off toward other directions. Where, you see it a lot with video games specifically, narrowing the focus in a bit more. Though it is definitely present in other media. Representation of women or of female characters in this case in video games. Having stronger female characters who do more. They're not just, they're not the princess waiting to be saved. They're not, a reward. They're not an object. They're not a plot device. They're a character. Yay, that's good. They even get to be main characters every once in a while. OMG. But then people will think about it's kind of, we talked about this with Bayonetta. We talked about it with several times. Bayonetta was the main discussion, where any female character that is attractive is now being labeled as being sexualized and objectified. And being attractive isn't the same as being objectified.
Right.
Yes.
You're allowed to be good looking and have substance. Like, so
I don't understand that argument at all, because I always thought objectification is something that happens on like user side, not like system side. How do you have something that you do to someone be implicit in the content? That's something that you do to it. So
right. Yeah, at minimum, it's two-party. Like, you can have a disrespectful portrayal of a character. That's certainly possible. That's usually a pretty obvious extreme. Like, if the character is a female character who's dumb and their only interaction in the media is to be a bouncing pair of tits, like, yeah. But there's not really a whole lot of, like, debates in those cases. It's really obvious that that's not a character. It's just a pair of tits with a name. But, like, with Bayonetta, like, I think Bayonetta is the example I'm going to keep coming back to, because it's the one that there's been a whole lot of hullabaloo about. It keeps coming back. People still make the comments about how terrible Bayonetta is. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, Bayonetta is a female power fantasy. Mm-hmm. Like, that... She's no more of, like, she is as empowering to female gamers and people who are fans of female characters as much as like
Doom Guy.
He-Man. I was gonna say, or like He-Man. Yeah. Like, you don't label He-Man as being an objectification of male characters because he runs around shirtless and is super hot. Like, that's no one made that comparison, and it happens every time you have a character like Bayonetta. It's just such a weird double standard. I don't know.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm infested with cats currently.
I saw.
Had a kitty.
Yeah.
Photobomb myself.
I do like the what you said, that video games have finally become part of the family now. We're now part of music. We're now part of movies and television, and in that violence is okay there, then it must be okay for video games. Yeah. I think part of it is the gaming industry itself has changed how it portrays violence. Like, for instance, since we're on the subject, like Doom and Rise of the Triad and Quake, their violence was like pixelated blood. Oh no. Like, it was so unrealistic that it was kind of goofy, so no one really took it seriously. And then we moved in like the PS2, Xbox era where we can get more realistic, and then you get games like Manhunt or even Hatred, the game that we keep going back to, where it's violence for the sake of violence, and there's no point to it. And I think that's when the gaming industry finally took a step back and said, whoa, we can't do this. It's the same reason why someone can say that, like, for instance, with Doom, Doom is so over the top. You're a Marine on Mars and you get sent to hell to fight demons. Like, all that is over the top and so far from the realm of reality that I'm fine with that. However, I don't like playing, oh my god, like, other first person shooters whose names I'm forgetting right now.
Postal comes to mind. It's not a very good game, but an example.
Right. Or like war games, for example. Like, Call of Duty. That's where I'm going. Call of Duty. I don't like playing those games because, those are in an actual realistic time, in an actual realistic place, around realistic-ish events. So I think I played 10 minutes of Call of Duty at a friend of mine's some years ago. I stopped playing because it's a so realistic depiction of war that it was too realistic for me. Like, even though I know these are pixelated people and these just bits and bytes, it's like, that's a bit too far. And I think video games have found a way to kind of encroach on that realisticness while giving you a reason to do it. It's not so pointless now. Or if it is pointless, it's so reckless and over the top no one would even care in the first place.
I think my bone to pick with the way games are treated is that, we're moving towards being completely included in other media. It's not like video games are completely separate. But what really grinds my gears is when people say, video games need to grow up. Video games need to show that they can be art. As if to say, look, I just saw the Minions movie the other day. Are we going to say that movies need to grow up? Did you like, you could look at any other, like, look at kids' books. Books need to grow up. Look, pictures? Ugh. Are we beyond this yet? But apparently every single video game that ever comes out needs to cater to the greater, population. It always needs to have a really moral ending to the story. It needs to be cohesive and put things in a good light. We can't just have silly, over-the-top violent games. You can't have horses where you play solitaire in order to be... because, that's not art. That's not art. You can't laugh at it. It's not funny. We need to be serious. Serious video game art needs to be made. That's what grinds my gears, because no one looks at any other media and tells them, you need to grow up.
Right.
This media form needs to grow up.
To tag along with that, to take that point and run with it, like the logical conclusion is like, so you're saying video games should, be serious art, and we should make video games that are like, trying to think of a good example here, but, my brain just blanked on it. I had it in my head while I was listening to you, and I started laughing with the horses.
Schindler's List?
Schindler's List is actually a good movie. I was trying to think of the one that was, for the longest time, like, the highest rated movie ever.
Titanic?
No.
Avatar?
No, not highest grossing, like highest rated. Like the...
Casablanca?
No, that's kind of an example, but there's actually some talent there. No, friggin',
Gone with the Wind?
It's another good example. It's not like the example I was thinking of. I don't know why my brain is not helping me with this. Google, feed my brain for me.
Doing it. Top 250 movies on IMDb. Shawshank Redemption. Godfather. Dark Knight. Hey, there's Schindler's List. 12 Angry Men. Pulp Fiction. Fight Club.
Wow, these were really recent movies. What happened to the 50s and the 60s? Damn.
I was gonna say, usually it's like the the typical stuffy art movies where it's like you watch it and you're like, yeah, that was an incredibly well made movie, and I never want to put myself through that again because God, that was boring. Yeah. And that's what you get when you make an art game. Like we talked about it before. Mm-hmm. There was there've been several indie attempts at doing exactly that, and usually they're kind of boring as games. You're like, you did a very cool thing there, and I'm gonna go play, fucking solitaire horses now, because that's a lot more fun. I'm gonna go play Pokemon.
Well, what was that, it was an army-based shooting game where you entered, a Middle Eastern city, and you were supposed to pacify terrorists, but as you go along, you find out that you guys are actually the bad ones, or... I can't remember the name of it, but I think storylines like that... It wasn't a Call of Duty, it was something else. Okay. But storylines like that, where the twist is you're the bad guy, or you realize some kind of moral thing, I was saying, if a game has to be art, you're supposed to come out of it with some kind of story at the end. That is way more meaningful than stripping out all the interaction and railroading someone through a narrative experience. What about that makes it tastefully art compared to spending 90% of a game blowing off heads and then the last 10% being told, hey, by the way, all those people you killed actually didn't do anything wrong and you're the monster. Mm-hmm. That, I think, has way more impact than Storyboard Railroad.
Yeah, Storyboard Railroad.
Also, Google saved me from having to think. So, Mo, now that you're going to actually edit this one, just take this clip and stick it in before where I was derping really hard.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I don't know why you asked me that.
just the movie poster of
his face. Citizen Kane is the name of the goddamn movie I couldn't think of. That movie that is the best made movie ever that no one ever wants to watch. It's goddamn boring.
Is that the one with Rosebud? Spoilers for Citizen Kane, I guess.
Yeah, that was, It's Rosebud, don't bother.
It's his sled, don't worry about it, I saved you 2 hours.
Yeah, that'd be the Family Guy reference, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. But yes, like that. I don't want the video game equivalent of Citizen Kane. Like, it's not going to be fun. Like, I don't want a game that its purpose is to be art. The game's purpose is to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and same thing with other media. And, like, the Minions is okay. Minions can definitely stop. But like, fucking, Expendables.
Yeah.
Expendables. That is not Citizen Kane. It is much better. I will watch Expendables 3 times instead of watching Citizen Kane.
Or,
Fast and the Furious.
Fast 5, yeah. Fast 5 and Furious 6 and Hateful 7 and Stupid 8. I don't know what number they're on now, but...
I'm gonna politely tell you you're full of shit on that one.
Well, look at the popularity of it. When people go in there, are they expecting to have their heartstrings tugged? Do they want to have an emotional roller coaster? Or do they want to watch Vin Diesel, The Rock, and any other, like, machismo icon, along with some sexy female individuals driving fast?
Right, exactly. I know exactly what I'm getting when I go see Fast and Furious, and I always deliver. Like, I'm never, ever...
It isn't gonna steer you wrong. It's gonna tell you you're not gonna get tricked.
You show up and he's like, alright, we're gonna steal these cars, and they're like at an antique car show, and they just like drive away in a little buggy, like, oh no! The Rock's got a Model T! Hurry, drift around this corner! Oh. Yeah. You know what you're getting.
Oh, man.
And yeah, Model T is the only car I can pull out of my head because it's make fun of me.
That's the only car model I would probably recognize. Honestly.
I couldn't tell you the difference between models and brands at this point. I'm pretty sure you just take a brand name and throw a year on it, and you're good.
You had to come up with that whole joke just because that was the only car
Don't give away my creed. I don't want people copying me.
So I kind of answered this question. How have your personal stances changed in video games, if they have at all? Like, where did you start with, and are you the same now, or have you kind of grown up between now and then?
I'm just jaded. That's the worst.
At this point in my life, I find myself, like, in general, video games included, but in general, I find myself fighting off growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you know, not liking things that are completely perfectly fucking fun because I'm too grown up for them. Like, fighting off the jadedness and the, you know, being too cool for that and being all hipster and whatnot. Like, no, fuck it. I want Pokemon. I will punch old ladies one after another to get next goddamn Pokemon game. I will not stop until I am 80. I'll still be playing goddamn Pokemon.
Oh my god.
Perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. And I play Terra, and I make adorable little, like, animal girl characters with giant weapons, and I enjoy it because I am a child, and I'm not going to stop, damn it. Yeah, don't grow up.
No, don't ever grow up. It's
bad for you.
I don't think my opinions of games have changed at all. I mean, I've been playing them since before I even have a memory of them. I have baby book pictures of me playing them that I don't remember doing, so they've been with me my whole life. And it's not like I've hated genres or something like that. I kind of don't like turn-based games, but that's not really changed in my entire life.
Yeah.
But looking at where I'm at now, and my feelings on games, the biggest problem I have is I feel like I've done everything. There's hardly ever new concepts. Like, even your horse jockey solitaire game, you're just taking two different games and mashing them together and being like, hey, it's something new. Which I guess that's something. It's out there.
Things, though, because it's horse racing and solitaire and adorable little cartoon animations.
It is. They're so adorable.
Little chibi horses.
Like, so when you go around a turn, you get all enthusiastic, your horse explodes in this fiery ball of fire, and it goes taking off down the track. It's so good, for no reason.
These are the things to hold on to. That's what matters in the world.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, I didn't like action RPGs for the longest time. Like, 'cause I grew up on turn-based RPGs like Earthbound and Final Fantasy, and then when the genre turned into action, I was like, ugh, I don't like this. I have to do things and shit.
Buttons and have timing and
Yeah, I was like, ugh. But I've gotten over that. I'm with you when you said there's nothing really original. There really isn't. It's like, what was it? Shakespeare said every story's been written ever. I'm probably butchering that quote, but you know what I mean.
Like, the best thing you can look forward to in a new game anymore is art style, soundtrack, because those two things can really sell a game. You can have a good narration to go with whatever mechanics you have, and on occasion, you will have a game that presents new mechanics, things that I've not seen in a game before. And that's what really captures me, is because I feel like every time I pick up a game, I've done it all. Like, is there a puzzle in a game you've played in the past year that you didn't already solve in another game? Like, everything's push block puzzles, sliding tile puzzles, key and lock puzzles. Yeah. Everything that you do, that you solved, you've probably already solved 3 or 4 times in other games. You just, the mechanisms are limited. We don't have a lot. Until we get new interface, like new ways to interface with a game, we're probably not going to be able to express new ideas in video gaming.
It's funny you mentioned the puzzle concept. Have you guys seen or played The Witness at all?
No.
No.
The Witness, it's like Pipe Dream meets Myst. So you're pretty much thrown in this world, no idea what you're doing. You walk around, you're presented with a door, and it's got like a grid, and it's got a dot here and a dot here. And it doesn't tell you anything. And so you figure out, oh, you draw a line from here to here. Oh, door opens. Okay, cool. So then it presents you with another puzzle that's got maybe like some things in the way. So you learn, oh, I go around this, and it open the door. Cool. And then the next puzzle, you may have 2 dots, or 4 dots, of different colors, and you have to match the colors, but it doesn't tell you that. And if you've been gaming for as long as we have, that's all intuitive, like, oh, I connect dot to dot, dot to dot, okay, I get it. Mm-hmm. But as you go on, it starts to become a language, like you start to learn to look at things like, oh, I connected this dot to this dot, but my line went in front of this triangle, and I will open the door. So if my line doesn't intersect this triangle or go near this triangle, then the door will open. Okay, fine. So now that I know what to do when I see a triangle or this square, it doesn't open unless my line goes through that. Okay, you learned something new. And it's the same thing. Everyone's played puzzles like that, but the way it's presented is totally different. It's told in a very non-verbal way. It's very, very visual. And if you haven't been playing games for like 30 years, or you're not up to that, then you'll probably hate the game. But, I love the game a lot. That game is very divisive is the word I'm looking for. Because people really love it or really hate it because of that puzzle mechanic. That's all there is. All you're doing is solving 200-ish puzzles. And the world you're in, kind of, a story's told just from the world morphing and things changing, just like Myst. You don't know what the hell's going on in Myst. It doesn't really tell you, but as you do puzzles, things happen. So it's the same thing. And that's a really interesting way to present a purely puzzle-based game, because you can eliminate all that story crap. It could be a iPhone game, but they didn't do it. They added in this nice layer to it that makes it more than a puzzle game.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was going to get to. Like, I'm all for and will readily embrace brand new things, but I mean, the video game industry, and it as a medium isn't, brand new anymore. A lot of things have been done. So it's more just like an original twist on things, a new way of portraying something, or just taking something that really isn't at all new and making it feel new. Like Ori and the Blind Forest, like, it's a platformer. Platformers are one of the oldest kinds of games we've got, but it doesn't really feel tired. Mm-hmm. And like Super Hot, like that's a shooter, but technically, it does something totally new with it. So it mixing things up, it's an art form. It isn't directly quantifiable. It's not purely objective. It's you can do a lot with the same things and get a new spin on it, and frankly, just a refreshing art style on a totally traditional game is sometimes enough to really mix things up, make it feel good. So
yeah. As long as the video game industry continues to innovate, I'll keep playing video games. I'm fucking playing horse card solitaire racing game. I mean, that's ridiculous, but it's innovating on something, and it's cute. It's adorable. Buy it. It's only $6, $7. Get it. So I have to kind of cut this short. My roommate's father is in town, and he's directly above me, and it's 11 o'clock here, so should probably cut it short. Did you guys have anything you want to plug before we end the show?
I'm as boring as usual.
Yeah.
Nothing yet.
I might get Overwatch soon. It depends. I'm not sure if I'm sold on the price point because, TF2 is free and Overwatch is $60.
Yeah, it's a thing. Because I think they are doing micropay, and I don't know why they're charging at 60. There are coins in the game, and I know you can get coins from opening loot boxes, but things cost a lot of coins, and you get very little coins from loot boxes, so I feel like they're going to let you buy coins.
Characters are free, so the only thing you would be buying are cosmetic, but I don't...
Yeah, it's skins, sprays, but they have skins, they have sprays, they have voice packs, they have character icons, they have victory poses. You get all that stuff out of loot boxes, but I was under the impression they weren't doing micropay, and that's why it cost $60. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. But they have coins in there, and I'd be really surprised if they don't let you give them cash for coins.
From what I understand, is they're not doing that. I think that was a worry people had because it was set up as a phone game, but pay more money to get loot crates and coins and blah, 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 blah. I think they're on record saying that wasn't going to happen.
Okay, if that's the case, then it's not sleazy and annoying to charge you $60 and have micropay. You don't need to double dip on your income. But I, as a largely poor gamer, would prefer the micropay because I could just play it for free. But that said, if I could, scrape up $60 and throw it at it, then I don't have to feel like a poor gamer where everyone in the world, has a stack of TF2 hats and I have nothing because I'm a scrub who's been playing for 8 years and has unlocked, has opened 4 hats. So yeah, there's pros and cons.
I do have to wonder how Overwatch is going to affect the hat market. Because if TF2 has direct competition, then I don't know. I've put a lot of stocks in hats, and I'm worried about having to liquidate all my assets.
Hat market crashing. It's going to be terrible.
Hopefully I walk out with enough Australium that I can do something well.
I don't know what that means.
It's a mineral in the TF2 world.
Oh.
Australium. It's like gold.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Anyway, let's wrap this one up and put a bow on it.
Yeah. So we're on episode 22 of the Secret Caliber podcast. I'll put bumpers and shit promoting us at the end of the Stop That. I can still see
I have to take a drink. Sorry. It's the rules.
So yeah, let's wrap this up. Thank you for coming out and watching and listening to the Secret Caliber podcast, episode 22. We'll see you guys later.
Later.
Bye, folks.